Good morning, everyone. Today my topic of presentation is on plant biology knowledge revealed in the Veda Saṃhitās, Brāhmaṇās, Āraṇyakās and Upaniṣads. The Shruti Vedas or the Vedic texts were codified and classified into writing by the great sage Veda Vyasa as following: Rigveda, the wisdom of the verses; Yajurveda, wisdom of yajna or the sacrificial formula; third one Samaveda, wisdom of chants; and the fourth one is Atharva Veda, wisdom of Atharvan Rishis. I go to the next slide. Today the organization of my presentation is as following. In the Vedic scriptures, we find a large number of terms used for describing plants and plant pots and their organs, both external features and internal structures. Many of these botanical and agriculture associated terms that are currently in use in the modern botany were first revealed and comprehensively discussed in the Vedic texts. So they are the morphology, plant classification, under plant classification, herbs, trees, roots, leaves, and the botanical terminology in the Sri Rudram and others, and which I will end with the conclusions. In the morphology and plant classification, I give a few examples here too. From the time of Rigveda and also in the Taittiriya Samhita, that is Yajurveda, conscious effort of plant classification is reflected and in naming the plants based on their morphological characteristics and were reflected. Plants are in the first place and are broadly classified into three groups as written here: Vriksha, trees; Oshadhi, herbs or small plants that bore abundant flowers and fruits and wither after fruiting phase. And the third one is Viruddha, creepers and herbs. So in this sloka of Chandogya Upanishad, Tesham Khalvesham Bhutanam Trenyeva Bijani Bhavantyandajam Jiva Mudbhijyati. In this, the Chandogya Upanishad divided the general term life into three classes of beings according to the origin, which emerges as three and are the following: Andaja, organisms born from the egg; Jivaja, organism born alive; and Udbhija, sprouts originated from the ground, that is germination or germinating seeds. The plant classification, another one, is the based on plant structure. And here in this slide, which is taken from the Atharva Veda, it presents an account of 9 types of growth habits of plants. The classification of herbs was according to their morphological or other special properties depending upon their mode of growth. They are the following: Pranastranati, short plants spreading in all directions; Stambini, plants with moderate height and profusely branching; Ekagashrunga, plants with monopodial branches; Pratanvati, creeping or prostrate plants like that Oshadhi, Ashumati, Kasidini, and Vishakha and Manjari. And last one, Manjari, those are the leaves or flowers in clusters. If I go to the next slide, this is the botanical classification that was described in the Yajurveda. Oshadibhyo svaha, mulebhya svaha, tulebhya svaha, kandebhya svaha, valsebhya svaha, pushpebhya svaha, phalebhya svaha. This is Oshadibhya. Oshadibhya means herbs, and Mula means root, Tula means panicle, Kanda means stem, Valsa means twig, Pushpa means flower, Phala means fruit. Likewise, Vanaspati Bhyasvaha, Mule Bhyasvaha, Tule Bhyasvaha, Kande Bhyasvaha, Valse Bhyasvaha, Shake Bhyasvaha, Parne Bhyasvaha, Pushpe Bhyasvaha, and Phale Bhyasvaha. In the between these two, the trees and herbs that are classified in the Yajurveda, it is the basic difference is that skandha, that is the top region of the tree that is with full of leaves, it is called as corona, but not that this present coronavirus, but it is that leaves and branches is called corona of a tree, and that is absent in the herbaceous species. So that in that way, there are two kinds of classification, botanical classification for herbs and trees given in the Yajurveda. In the next slide, I will do the leaves and roots that are how they are classified. Various types of root forms have been described in Vedic texts, and in the later Sanskrit text which correspond to the modern botanical terms, the following are the terms like Stula Mula, taproot, Bahumuli, adventitious roots, Jatamula, fasciculate roots, Stula Mula, that is modified roots of fusiform, Shakasifa, roots originating from nodal branches, and Sukshma Mula, very thin roots or fibrous roots, Krishna Muli, black colored roots, Sweta Muli, white colored roots, and Tripadi, plants with three main roots. These are the classification of roots, and which you can see in this picture here, Stula Mula, Bahumuli, Jatamula, Stula Mula, and Shakasipa and Sukshma Mula. And in the next slide, I do here the leaves classification. Some Sanskrit words from the Vedic literature indicate various types of leaves, that is the Ekapatra, Bahupatra, Swarintaparna, Avarintaparna, Ashvaparni, Mushikaparna. When you see these pictures, you can see the first one Ekaparna, and the second one Bahupatra, and the Swarintaparna having the stalk, and Avarintaparna, no stalk here in these leaves, and the other one Ashvaparni, the horse ear shaped leaf, and Mushikaparni, mouse shaped leaf. And here are some of the botanical terminology that are presented, like in the Madhumulmam, Madhumagramasam, Madhumanyadvam, Virudham Babhuva, Madhumat Parnam, Madhuvat Pushpamasam, Madho Sambhakta Amrutasya Bhaksho, Gruhatamannam, Duhrutam, Gopurojavam. This particular Veda mantra has taken from Atharva Veda. It is explaining the root, that is Molam, Agrabhaga, shoot apex, Madhyabhaga, stem or trunk, Parna, that is leaf, Pushpam, flower, Amritasya, that is sweet content. And here are some of the terms that are described in various Vedic texts. Vaushadhi is one of the botanical terms very common in described in the Vedas. Vriksha also, that is tree. Valsa means twig or branch of a herb or a tree. And Vanaspati is called as Lord of Forests, primarily to denote a tree. And Daru means wood. And Kumuda means the plant that is originating from the water. That is, those are water plants like Nelambu and other things, lotus and other things. And Snega Parna, and that is in Brāhmaṇās, it means the oleander leaf. And Apsuja, means it is waterborne. And here are some of the 7 particular botanical terms which are described in the Sri Rudram, that is Rudram, and Vibhuschame, Prabhuschame, Bahuschame, like this kind of mantras that are observed, and these mantras indicate the progressive increase in the quality of food grains and the second indicating the higher than the first one. Vibhu means superior grains, Prabhu means more superior grains, Bahu means much superior grains, Bahu means much more superior grains, Purnam means completely filled grains, and Purnataram means fine filled grains, and Akshiti means not destructed grains or non-destructed grains. In the other slide, the botanical terminology that is described in the Sri Rudram, Namo Vrukshebhyo Harikeshebhyaha. Vrukshebhyo means trees, Harikeshebhyo means green hair-like structures, but they are botanically called as trichomes. The trichomes you can see in these pictures here are very, very fine hair-like structures which are present in the plants, and they also contain chlorophyll, which they do some photosynthesis. And in the another example, Namo Shashpyaya cha Phenyaya cha. Shashpa means Yajurveda Saṃhitās and Rigveda Brāhmaṇā, and also Yajurveda Brāhmaṇā, and Sayanacharya in his Taittiriya Samhita commentary said that Shashpa means a darbha grass, that is Desmostachya bipinnata, grows on the banks of the river Ganga. It denotes a young or sprouting grass. Penya means froth on the river, which is not connected to the plants. So Shashpa is a very important one, that is the darbha grass, which is very much used in any yajna or any yaga or any homa, and which is auspicious when that particular darbha grass growing along Ganga river. And in other terminology, botanical terminology that is described in the Sri Rudram, Namah Parnyaya cha Parnasidhyaya cha. Parnaya cha means green leaves, Parnasidhyaya means heap of dried leaves. And Namah Katyaya cha Gahvarestaya cha, that is Katyaya means creepers with thorns, and Gahvarestaya means poisonous mountain caves. So Lord Rudra present in these creepers with thorns and also poisonous mountain caves. And Namas Shushkyaya cha Harityaya cha. Shushkyaya cha means dried wood of trees, and Harityaya cha means moist green tree wood. So in both the places Rudra presents. And in the another slide, this mantra is telling another Sri Rudram mantra, Medustamasi vatamasi bonas sumana bhava parame vruksha ayudam nidhaya krittim vasana achara pinakam vibradagahi. This is Lord Rudra sits in Kailasa under the banyan tree, and Lord Rudra weapons like Trishula and other weapons are made out of a very important high quality wood comparable to that of Nyagrodha. In Sanskrit it is called as, and in Vedas it is described, that is Ficus bengalensis, and it has been described Lord Rudra is seated under a banyan tree in Kailasa, which is 100 yojanas tall and 175 yojanas width, and 1 yojana in Vedic measure distance, that is in the ancient India, 1 yojana is 12 to 15 kilometers in length, and the banyan tree is a refuge of those anxious to get moksha. Here it is prayed that the weapons to be left in the tree. So in that such a huge tree, which you can see here, those huge trees are present in our botanical gardens like Jagadishchandra Botanical Garden, the legendary Botanical Garden in Calcutta, and also in Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh, one Timmanna Marri Chettu is there, and in Bangalore there is 400-year-old located Kottahalli in Bangalore, such a huge tree, that is one tree with several aerial roots that are present. You can see in these pictures. And in another sloka, another mantra, E vrukshebhyo saspinjaraya neelagrivaya vilohitaya. So Vruksheshu means trees. Saspinjaraya means tender grass that is reddish yellow in color. So even in those kind of small herbs and huge trees, Bhagavan Rudra presents, his presence is there. And in another mantra, which is a very, very, very famous mantra, the Mrityunjaya mantra, Triyambakam yajamahe sugandhim pushtivardhanam urvarukameo bandhanan mrityor mukshiyamamrutat. My salutations to Lord Rudra and all our superior. It is mentioned in the Upanishads also. He applies Divya Gandha, that is Sri Gandha tree, Santalum album, which is obtained from and has been used here. And also in this mantra, it is an invocation made with a request to release the clutch of Mrityu, that is the death. Release the death, like how the fruit of Urvaru means a cucumis fruit. The essence of this mantra signifies the fact that just as the ripened Urvaru kameva bandhanan, kamiva bandhanan means you will remove the clutch from the mrityu. That is how that cucumis sativus fruit releases it from the stem of the plant. In the same way, I would like to be liberated myself from the cycle of life and death. That is the Triyambakam Yajamahe mantra meaning. And there are several agriculture terms and terminology that are presently in use in agriculture field were described in the Vedas. The agriculture implements, the seasons, the suitability of crops, and the number of crops per season are well mentioned in the Yajurveda and in other Vedas. Here below are the examples which you can see. Krishi, Sira, Langala means plow, and Karshivana, plower, Urvara, plow land, Kshetra, plow land, Trina, grass, Shashpa, sprouting grass. Like that, there are several agriculture terms that are present. And the agriculture seasons, Vasanta, Grishma, Varsha, Sharad, Hemanta, Shishir, are all described in the Vedas, especially the Taittiriya Samhita and the Rig Veda. And the Krishan, the agriculture operations, how we do these operations like plowing, sowing, reaping, threshing. That is called as plowing is called as Krishanta, Vapanta, sowing, Lunanta, reaping, Brunanta, threshing, and also some of the very important instruments for harvest and post-harvest by various farmers in this country. They use sickle, and that is called as Trini or Datra or Parsha. They made it into bound into bundles, and Kala beaten into floor of a granary, and Taitu grain separation and sieving, and Surpa and winnowing fan, and Dhanya Krit winnower, and Udara grain measuring vessel. So these are all present in Rigveda, and these instruments that are very much used even now. To conclude my talk, I present in this conclusions I have presented here. Science in general and plant science in particular is an integral part of the Vedic literature. It is found that the plants and trees have several-fold importance in the Vedas. It is clearly evident from the discussion that the morphology, taxonomy, classification, and other aspects like agriculture terms and botanical terms were revealed in the Vedas with specific purpose. Thus, we should comprehend that the ancient scientists, our rishis, did realize the need to classify the plants according to their various characteristics and properties. In most cases, they come close to the modern classifications of the present day, botanical classifications. Many aspects of modern botany can be traced back to Vedas and other derived Sanskrit literature too. To further conclude, there is an urgent need in protecting this traditional knowledge such as Vedic botany and Vedic and agriculture for future generations. The Vedic botany can be adopted as a part of the syllabi at higher levels of education in order to propagate our traditional knowledge amongst the later generations. I stop here as the specific time is exhausted. And in this, I conclude my presentation here. I thank the organizing committee of the Waves, and particularly Dr. Aparna Dhir and Madam Dr. Shashi Tiwari. Thank you so much for listening to me. My regards. Thank you. Namaste.